Pleased to have back here on the show, finishing up the hour with us from The Athletic and Fox Sports, Bruce Feldman. Good to see you, Bruce. What is the latest on Maryland, sir? What can you tell me?
So they were going to have a board conference call this morning. From what I was told, it's wrapping up. And I don't know if there's been any change. From what I just heard from a text from somebody who should know, they said that right now there's been nothing done. Now that could change, obviously. My hunch is after the Tuesday press conference that the investigation was going to play out. That doesn't mean if DJ Durkin survives the call today that he's going to go back on the sidelines. I still think that's such a long shot.
How can he go back on the sidelines there now, Bruce? I mean, and again, the president that you're referring to at the Tuesday press conference, President Lowe, was remarkable in the fact that he and the school took immediate responsibility for what was happening in this football program with the death of Jordan
I don't know if I would say
McNair.
they took immediate responsibility because there was a lag time before they proceeded to have an investigation. Here's the issue I think that's worth putting, because I watched the press conference, and for people who are not Maryland people, you're like, okay, that was refreshing that the president of the school took responsibility in the face of probably, creating more legal entanglement.
So I guess that's what was my way of saying immediate. So I understand that you're being literal for the timeline. I should have been a little bit more literal.
Why did they take so long to start the investigation? Was this something that really escalated because there was an ESPN report talking about this toxic culture, and there's a lot of bad publicity came down the down the pipeline? Did that force their hands? The other thing, and I had a long conversation with a Maryland insider about this last night, was where do they go from here? Meaning, does the AD and the president, do they know, we're probably not going to keep our jobs in the face of this. Let's do the right thing here. Wallace Lowe's in his 70s. He's probably not going to get another job as a president. Let's do the right thing. This is not going to be money that's going to come out of Wallace Lowe, the president, or Damon Evans, the AD's pocket. It's going to be Maryland who will have to pay this lawsuit that we think is coming.
To the McNair family.
To the McNair family. And by the way, what I think was, I don't know if I would call it a game changer, but when those parents, when Jordan McNair's parents go on Good Morning America and they say what they said, that he sat in our kitchen and he said he would take care of our son,
Durkin,
DJ Durkin, and he's dead. Whether DJ Durkin as the head coach, he was not at that summer workout. That's a damning statement, and I don't know how Maryland could bring DJ Durkin back just with that, because I don't know how you explain around that. You could talk a lot about, okay, the trainers really screwed up, the strength coach who we parted ways with, there was a real disconnect there. But at the end of the day, you're the head coach, and when the people whose kid has died on your watch, after they said what they said, I don't know how he could get brought back.
Bruce Feldman here on the Rich Eisen Show. Look, I hear all the time, hey, this program's on the up and up, and we're going the trending upward because we got the right strength coach. How many times do you hear that? I hear that a lot. It's not like we got the great coordinator, we got the strength coach.
They're the guys who are there all off season, all the time.
But the one thing I've never heard about a strength coach is somebody's gone rogue. That whatever's put in place by the strength coach has gotten the check mark from the coach or is mirroring the culture from the coach, right? I mean,
look, DJ Durkin's words, a lot of people brought them out. There was a story that he had talked about his strength coach, and it was in an article on SI.com, and that got trotted out there quite a bit. And, whether that's fair or unfair, I mean, that's a hard reality to escape, I think, just because of what you said.
Bruce Feldman here on the show. What's the latest with Ohio State? I mean, we're coming up on the
deadline.
The deadline, which is when?
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
Now, the president went on, I think, student radio there at Ohio State, the president of the university, and said, we're gonna have a conclusion when we have a conclusion. I'm not saying he was walking back with their own timeline, but that's kind of what it sounded like. I thought when they put out that statement almost 2 weeks ago, it was basically, okay, we're going to narrow our focus of the investigation. My hunch on this, and it's not having inside knowledge of every email that's ever been sent about Urban Meyer internally or Zach Smith, the fired coach, was that I could see him surviving this. I think he's going to survive it unless they find something that is pretty damning, because from our understanding of this story is his boss, Gene Smith, was the one who alerted him. Now, if his boss knew and the law knew, then what exactly, where was Urban Meyer's responsibility beyond that? And so while it may look bad and smell bad to a lot of people, if he's saying he acted appropriately from protocols and procedures, and if he didn't mislead anybody, I think he's going to keep his job.
Well, because you can't fire him for cause on that front if he did in fact inform. So Zach Smith is pulled off the recruiting trail by Gene Smith, and Urban Meyer knows at this point in time. They never reached out to Zach Smith's wife, but we've heard from Zach Smith.
That's what it sounds like. We're hearing like sides of the story. We don't know for sure.
We've heard from the Bruce family, and we've heard from Zach Smith's wife's mother. I mean, this has been an absolute holy heck of a mess that's been, and this is what we know. And that's probably what's in front of these investigators right now to try and figure out. So if they come back and say, yes, Urban Meyer went ahead and said and informed, and that's why Zach Smith was pulled off the recruiting trail, how did he keep his job? Well, that's the crux of it. And then if it is legit as to why he kept his job, then why did Urban Meyer not say when he was asked exactly what happened at the media day coming out and saying that?
Yeah.
Right. Those are some questions that I need to see answered.
Yeah. And a question I would be curious about is, you fired him the night before Big Ten media days. If you said nothing happened legally, what was it that caused you guys to fire him? Urban Meyer said a lot of things. He definitely said more than he probably for his own benefit should have said that day, not just on the podium at Chicago and the Big Ten media days, but over the course of the day. So what we don't know is, did they confront Zach Smith with more information and find out Zach Smith's story didn't match up, that he was dishonest with them, and they go, okay, this is more trouble than it's worth? Was that the decision? We don't know what caused them to fire him. We also, as you said, reading between the lines from hearing a lot of this, I think there's a lot of people who are going to say, especially Ohio State people, are going to look at this and go, okay, well, did they not believe his ex-wife with some of this? Why did the police not pursue charges? We don't know a lot of things. We know what we've seen from some text message photos, but there needs to be more context to this. There's a lot of details we just don't know at this point. But you could sit here and say, man, this is a bad look for Urban Meyer, going back to your original point about not seemingly being upfront and honest at Big Ten media days, when one of his biggest mission statements is about honesty.
No, I know that, but if he's being dishonest with the media,
you don't get fired for that,
cause, and you also don't lose your fan base.
No, you may lose
certainly
everybody
in this day
else,
and age where the media is
the enemy,
is being called the enemy of the people. I'm serious. I'm not trying to mix sports and politics, but that is what's going on in our country today, and it's 73-8 for his tenure at Ohio State. I think without a doubt, and I don't know any inside information, he's going to keep this job. And I even said on the show the other day, I'm going to bounce this off you, 3-game suspension where he doesn't coach home against Oregon State, home against Rutgers, and then at the Jones Mahal, that game against TCU, he won't coach that one either. And that'll be a tough one for him to not coach, but it'll be just Ohio State saying, we are going to take our lumps and we're going to risk losing football games because it's important that we sit this coach down. Then he returns to a standing ovation at home in the Horseshoe, beating the crap out of Tulane, with all respect to Tulane. And then he's ready to roll against Penn State. He'll be there. I would be stunned if he's not on the sideline against Penn State.
Here's my question on that, though. And you may be right, but from a crisis management standpoint, what does a 3-game suspension do if you're Ohio State? Because people are always going to say, with suspensions, it was too lenient, right? So what to me a suspension says is, you were kind of wrong here. You were wrong, and this is our way to kind of put a salve on it. To me, it's like a little pregnant. We either found something pretty damning and you had to go, or you know what, you handled this appropriately. We don't love the fact that we should have cut bait on this guy with a lot of baggage much sooner. And in hindsight, it looks really bad. But Urban Meyer acted appropriately, at least by policy and procedure. So suspending him, to me, I'm not sure how that helps anything.
No, how it helps is he's still the coach.
He's,
I
yeah, but
mean,
you don't
I
need
am,
to suspend him. He's already been out for a couple of weeks
I
now.
don't mean to be glib or callous. I'm not. He would still be the coach. When it all comes down to it, Bruce, if you're talking to how many of the Ohio State fan base would be so irate over Urban Meyer still keeping his job? How many? So
what they'll find, or what they'll find,
if they find what we're assuming, which is no much more.
No smoking gun or anything
exactly.
like that. Well, then I think they're going to see
him having reported he can't be fired for cause. If there's no lawsuit coming from Urban or somebody else, if there was no Title IX violation, with the ultimate of respect, and you could sit here and hear what we're talking about. Well, what about the scourge of domestic violence? Correct. It's awful. It's terrible. But when you're talking about a head coach and a program that's won 73 out of 81 games, I'm being blunt and honest here. That's what a 3-game suspension does. It's terrible. Mea culpa. We've punished him. He's got that on his mark and record. But he's still a coach.
But I'm looking at it saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't think the punishment looks like you're really doing anything.
No, it doesn't.
I think Ohio State, if there's no smoking gun, I think Ohio State fans are going to look at it and go, you know what, he was exonerated because the police didn't bring charges. Right. And then they're going to say, sure. Because it's really hard for people to figure out what happens in somebody else's personal life. And they know this is a really screwed up marriage between, the Smiths, and now they're not married anymore. And there was a lot of, I think it's different if they find out there were charges made and then they look the other way. But if there were no charges made, I think people are going to say, well, what did Urban Meyer know? And if this is all he knew and his boss knew about it, could he, if he's going to, he could fire anybody he wants, by the way. He's forced out other guys because they weren't ideal fits for what he wanted. He could fire anybody. But I think there's going to be the other side of it is going to say, well, was he firing him for no reason because he didn't have a reason because there were no charges against him? The police never found. I mean, I think that's some of what you'll hear, and all the stuff that we talked about not being truthful or being clear, however you want to say it, at Big Ten Media Days. That stuff will be things that other people will throw at him.
No doubt.
But Ohio State fans, I don't think they'll cling to it.
Correct. I agree with you. Let's take a break. That was the Honda Insider Report. When we come back, quarterback battles. Clemson, we have Dabo Swinney on this week. I want to know who's playing quarterback at Clemson. I want to know who's playing quarterback at Alabama and in other spots that you can quickly hit. That's with Bruce Feldman when we come back. All right, we got about 3 minutes for quick hitters, Bruce Feldman, at Bruce Feldman CFB. A great follow. And, of course, the Fox Sports, you'll be out there coming up.
Week 1, we got Texas at Maryland. Should be an interesting opener.
My word. So you're going to be on the campus there? Or
no, the game is actually at FedEx Field.
I mean, Week 1 is chock full of neutral site contests. But Michigan at Notre Dame is one, obviously. I've got that circled. Alabama, who's going to be the quarterback?
We're all guessing at this point because you have Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, was like the SEC Player of the Year as a freshman.
But Tua, man, right?
Tua was great in the national title game. Now, somebody pointed this out to me. Tua made a couple of big mistakes that he got away with in that game.
Oh, sure.
Big mistakes.
Huge sack. He took a huge sack.
He took a huge sack, threw the ball to the wrong person, and one of the Alabama players rescued him, or else that's a pick. Tua's upside you would think is a lot better. The thing I look at is, I don't think anybody's going to challenge Alabama until the end of the year when they play Auburn. I mean, their schedule is extremely soft the way this year. They traded FSU for Louisville, and by the way, Louisville obviously doesn't have Lamar Jackson. I don't think Louisville's all that good. I think they're going to cruise. My guess is they probably will play both guys quite a bit.
Huh. So in a couple minutes we have left, Clemson, who do you think is going to be? Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence, who do you think?
Trevor Lawrence's upside is so much further than Kelly Bryant, and I think the consistency issue with Kelly Bryant's a concern. I think ultimately Kelly Bryant's going to overtake him. They have some tough games early on. I think they play A&M on the road week 2. That's a tough place to bring a true freshman. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence was there in the spring, knows the offense. They got really good receivers. I think they can win with defense for a while. I think eventually it's going to be Trevor Lawrence.
Here in Southern California, who is it going to be?
I'd be really surprised if JT Daniels doesn't run away with this thing.
Okay.
One guy, Jack Sears, who really struggled in the spring, was a talented kid. He was Sam Darnold's understudy, came from the same school. he's really made a lot of progress and made it more of a battle. But I just think that they look and go, JT Daniels is going to be our guy. But I think they want it to be a competition because you don't want the other two guys to just bail.
Real quick hitters, Florida State. Who do you have? Who do you think is going to be?
My guess is DeAndre Francois. I mean, he's a tough kid. I think he's done a lot of what Willie Taggart's asked him to do. But I think, again, you'll see probably both guys there, too.
And we had Jabril Peppers on earlier this week, and I'm like, so tell me what you're hearing about Shea Patterson. He's like, don't sleep on Peters. Is there really a competition at quarterback?
Yeah, look, the head coach loves competition. Questions I've always heard with Peters is, does he have the personality, commanding presence to run the show? What you need to see a lot more of from Shea Patterson, as great as his arm is, really quick release, really athletic. Can he be consistent? I mean, that's the big concern.
Well, we'll see. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Bruce Feldman here on the show. Thanks for being here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.